And today we'll try to understand this equilibrium in the perfect competition market. I hope you are able to listen to me properly. So last class we were here. Okay, we talked about the assumptions in the perfect competition market, and we are trying to understand some of the important assumptions. We talked about 11 assumptions for perfect competition market, but few most important assumptions I will try to repeat again, or if any one of you want to mention that important assumptions about perfect competition market. Anyone? Very good. What else? Someone else? Another assumption? What happened? Why you are not replying? Okay, fine, accepted. No transaction cost. What else? Some of the important and crucial assumptions of perfect competition, which you price is constant. Say, try to say in other words. Same thing if you want to say in a different manner, how you will say? How you will tell me that price is constant? Yes. What happened? Okay. Another very good. So another way of saying the same last three sentences. Another way to say the same thing. Price is constant. Price is same for all. Demand is perfectly elastic. Another way of saying the same thing. Very good. So products are homogeneous. Okay. And that's why you are saying, because the products are homogeneous, they are identical to each other, they are same. All the firms are selling the same product or same quality, same color, same utility. So product is homogeneous in all the sense, that is, product is perfect substitutes. All the products which are sold by the firm or which the firms are selling, they are perfect substitutes of each other. So that's how you are talking about homogeneity. And that's how you say that price, because the products are same, because they are homogeneous, they are identical, they are perfect substitutes. That is why price remains same or price remains constant for all of them. In other words, the demand curve for a firm is given. So firm is a price taker, firm cannot decide the price. Why firm cannot decide the price? Because there are infinite number of buyers and sellers in the market. Firm can decide the price only if the number of sellers are few in the market. If there are less number of buyers, firms can have the freedom to decide the price. But in all those markets where there are large number or infinite number of firms, individual firm does not decide the price. So how does the price decides? That we will. So let us go one by one and try to understand. Now, all of you who were trying to read perfect competition in the last week, you might have encountered two terms. Books are telling you that there is something which is known as pure competition, and there is something which we are talking about is perfect competition. Okay, so there is a difference between perfect competition and pure competition. If all the assumptions of perfect competition exist at any point of time in the market, then this market will be known as pure competition. Pure competition means, see, I'm talking about the assumptions. Please try to pay attention to this so that we can understand the equilibrium of a firm in a better way. The first thing is that free, fair, full, or complete information. Second, homogeneous product. Third, zero transaction cost. Fourth, demand curve for a firm is perfectly elastic. And fifth, infinite number of buyers and sellers. One more, no government intervention. Okay. One more. You say that price all prices are equal to marginal cost. Then one more, capitalist economy. The economy which we are talking about or which we are considering is a capitalist economy. Okay. And there is one more, uh, where you are saying that all prices are equal to marginal cost, capitalist economy. And then you are saying that all conditions are identical, same for firms. Okay. Now, if all these exist, if at all, because there will be several assumptions which may not exist. So, if all exist, you call it pure competition, which is an ideal situation always. So generally we say that pure competition or perfect competition is an ideal situation which may not exist in the practical world or in the modern business situation. But if these things can exist together at one point of time, together if they can exist, then it will be termed as pure competition. Okay. But if suppose uh, information is incomplete, although information is there, but it is incomplete to some extent, but product is homogeneous, transaction cost is zero, and fourth assumption is also there, fifth assumption is also there, sixth we are not very sure about. There can be government intervention or there may be no government intervention. Like last class, we were trying to understand that can we say that vegetable market or grain market is a perfectly competitive market? But you understand that in the vegetable market, all the vegetable sellers or all the vendors have to pay some local tax to the municipal corporation or municipality. They have to pay some charges related to electricity, some charges related to water. So there are payments which they have to make. So some in some form government intervention is there in all your vegetable markets. Okay, you need to have a permit to set up your shop. All prices are equal to marginal cost, yes, it will exist. Capitalist economy, yes, it is a basic characteristic that perfect competition can exist only in a capitalist economy. Now can anyone tell me what do you understand by capitalist economy? Yes, anyone? Very briefly. Okay, I'm not expecting a perfect or detailed answer, but I'm just expecting an indication that what do you understand by perfect competition, this capitalist economy. it's not like it's not like that. Anyone else? uh, okay, to some extent you are moving in the right direction. Someone is saying okay, it is a type of economy in which economy is dependent on private firms. Yes, anyone else saying anything? See, theoretically, how we define capitalist economy? Capitalist economy is an economy where factors of production are owned by all factors of production: land, labor, capital, natural resources, technology, whichever factor of production you can talk about, which you can use in the production process of various goods and services, are owned by individuals right? Now, these individuals can be households, can be you and me, can be firms, can be companies, can be corporates. So there is properly defined property rights. See, when we talk about capitalist economy, property rights becomes very important. Properly defined property rights. Like every land is owned by someone and he has a clear property right on it. Most of you must be aware that in our rural areas, we are most of the time having a problem where ownership of land is not well documented or not in the records of the government that who actually owns the land. But in a capitalist economy, properly defined property rights exist. Okay, so property rights becomes very important. Ownership of factors of production, that is also very important. And the third part, when we talk about capitalist economy, because we as economists, we are always trying to understand any economy from its decision making perspective, that how the decisions are being taken in a particular economy. So decision makers are individuals. Individuals based on market forces, demand and supply. So this is important. You say that this is an economy governed by market. You don't say that this is the economy which is governed by corporates or few individuals, but actually it is uh, an economy which is governed by market forces, that is demand and supply. Remember, there are not many things which we are still trying to explore as students. Okay, when you say that market is controlled by few, so that is crony capitalism, not capitalism as such. Capitalism is a system where the market is fair or free. There is no control or there is no restriction on the market. No single individual or corporate can affect the market. That is how capitalist economy works. And it also is based on the principle of survival of the fittest. So whosoever has more ownership will be benefited more, right? So in that way, we are talking about an economy where all the decisions will be taken according to the market demand and supply, and that's how we will talk about perfect competition. So if all the conditions of perfect competition are fulfilled, then it will be pure competition. Or otherwise, when you are talking about perfect competition, you start from this. You don't start with information. Okay. The first assumption for perfect competition is infinite number of buyers and sellers. The basic characteristic is this: buyers and sellers, because information we are not very sure. Like in vegetable market, you are not very sure about who all are selling at what price until and unless you discover the whole market. So information is not the basic characteristic, but n number of buyers and sellers are. Second, free entry and exit. Okay. Third, firm is a price taker. Fourth, price is determined by industry. Fifth is price is equal to marginal cost. Okay, and one of the most important assumption, all firms make normal profit in the long run. So pay attention to this. You say that, or we have discussed every time, that firm's objective is to maximize the profit. So profit maximization is the objective for every seller. Okay, but perfect competition market is a market where in the long run all the firms can make only normal profit. They cannot maximize their profit, but it is only the normal profit, and normal profit is equal to marginal cost. So in their cost, the profit is already included and they are only earning normal profit. So why they are earning normal profit, how they are earning normal profit, now we'll try to understand this. I hope so far everything is okay. Okay. So now talk about equilibrium condition in the PC market, perfect competition market. So how is the equilibrium decided in the perfectly competitive market? First is that you want to understand what is equilibrium. What do you mean by equilibrium? Equilibrium means price, quantity, cost, revenue. These are the four variables which we are trying to solve. Okay, these are the four values which we are trying to discover in the situation of equilibrium. Equilibrium exists only when the price and quantity is simultaneously determined and at the same time cost and revenue is also determined. So now we'll try to understand that how equilibrium in this market takes place. So here we have industry, because in the assumption itself we are saying that price is determined by the industry. What is industry? Industry is a group of various individual firms. Okay, so together firms together make the industry, and industry decides the price because industry has the control on demand and supply. Firms do not have, but industry has. So this is the industry demand curve. How you are getting the industry demand curve, that is also important. How to derive the demand curve for the industry. How I got this downward sloping demand curve for the industry? By horizontal summation of consumer demand curve market or industry. demand curve is derived? Okay, so try to understand this. Industry has a downward sloping demand curve. Firm has a perfectly elastic or horizontal to x-axis demand curve, but industry has a downward sloping demand curve. From where this downward sloping demand curve for an industry is coming, it is derived by the horizontal summation of individual consumers' demand curve, which we were studying in the first unit when we were talking about law of demand and demand curve for the consumer. So generally we are talking about one consumer which is a representative consumer for all the other consumers. Okay, so what do? We add up all the individual demand curves of consumers and we add in a horizontal direction. So we keep on adding the individual consumer demand curves and we get the market demand curve. And this market demand curve itself is known as the industry demand curve. Okay. So now we know that industry has a demand curve which is based on the consumer demand. And industry will also have a supply curve because industry is a group of all firms together. So they know that what is the total supply by the firms. Now this supply is not the supply of production, but it is the supply of selling quantity. Please remember one thing, that when we are talking about markets, we are always focusing on the selling quantity as compared to the production level. Okay. So industry demand curve, downward sloping demand curve. Industry supply curve, upward sloping as usual. Now here the quantity and price is decided. Say we call it P star. This is the P of X. And on this side you are taking quantity of X, means supply and demand both. Now if you have the firm here, okay. Now this price is allotted to these individual firms. Try to pay attention to the way I am drawing the diagram. Please be careful about this. You are actually taking the P star back on the two firms axis. So suppose you call it firm A, firm B, and this is industry. And we are talking about perfect competition market. So if you want, you can also draw a straight line here. Straight line, okay, on this price only. Passing through these dashed lines, you have a demand curve, okay. Now this is demand curve for A, this is demand curve for B, and I hope you are able to understand that demand curves are identical for both the firms because both the firms are identical to each other. They have the same cost structure, they have the same demand structure, they have the same price structure, they are following all the same strategy, they are selling the homogeneous product. So therefore their demand curve is also the same. So we can take one firm only and we can explain the whole theory. Okay, no need to take two diagrams separately, but yes, if you want to specify on few things, then you can do this. Okay, this will be your choice in the exam. While writing your answer, you can have only one industry and one firm's diagram, or you can do like this as I am doing. So price is given for both the firms, and on the given price, which is decided by the industry, the demand curve for firm becomes perfectly horizontal. Please pay attention to the way I am stating the statement. Okay, you should be also saying in the same manner, or you should try to convey the same idea which I am trying to telling you, which I'm trying to convey to you. Price is decided by the industry. In the perfectly competitive market, price is decided by the industry, and this price is given for all the existing firms in the market, because there is infinite number of firms in the market. So on the price level determined by the industry, for the firm, demand curves becomes perfectly elastic, or on the price P star, which is determined by the industry, firm's demand curve become perfectly elastic. In other words, firm's demand curve is horizontal on the level of P star, the price determined by the industry. See, this is the P star. So on this price level, this demand curve will become perfectly elastic, or this demand curve will be horizontal on this level. So this is the level from where the demand curve will start for the firm. Okay. Now, how the equilibrium of these firms takes place? Try to understand this. AC, MC. Marginal cost, average cost for this firm. Okay. So price is already given. The quantity is decided as OX1. Now see this. Price is determined here. Try to draw straight lines. Okay, every time. Now this is the firm which is earning normal profit, and this is the firm which is making abnormal profit. So in a perfectly competitive market, in the short run, firm can earn normal profit, or firm can earn abnormal profit, or firm can even earn a loss. But in the long run, the equilibrium is only like firm A. Firm will only earn normal profit in the long run, because price is equal to in the short run. For firm, price can be equal to AC always. In the short run, price is always equal to AC. But price may not be equal to marginal cost. If price is equal to marginal cost, then this is normal profit. If price is greater than marginal cost, then this is abnormal profit. If price is lesser than marginal cost, okay, so this can be the situation. But in long run, price is always equal to AC is always equal to marginal cost. Okay. Now let us make a change here. Price may not be equal to AC, but price is always equal to MC. Price is equal to AC is equal to MC, then it is normal profit. Price greater than AC equal to MC is abnormal profit. Price lesser than AC is equal to MC is equal to loss. So this is the situation for the firm's equilibrium. Okay. So in the long run, a firm in a competitive market can make abnormal profit, can make loss, but in the long run, firm can only earn normal profit because price is always equal to AC and MC. So now you should be wondering, or you must be asking one question. The question is that let us understand conditions for equilibrium of a firm in perfectly competitive market. Okay. So what is the condition for equilibrium? We saw in the diagram that how equilibrium will take place. But our major question is that what are the conditions for equilibrium of a firm in the perfectly competitive market? So we'll talk about conditions in two situations if it is a short run. So the first condition is that marginal cost should be equal to marginal revenue. The second condition is that marginal cost should be cutting the marginal revenue curve from below. So these are the two conditions. Okay, in exam generally the question is asked in this format. Explain the conditions for equilibrium of a firm in perfectly competitive market. So what are the conditions? Conditions are important. Now, marginal cost has to be equal to marginal revenue. MR is marginal revenue. And the second condition is MC, that is marginal cost, should be cutting the marginal revenue curve from below. Now, you are asking that where is the marginal revenue curve? We have not talked about the marginal revenue curve so far. Okay. So, let us understand the marginal revenue curve. Now you say that in the market, objective of the firm is profit maximization, and I will be denoting profit like this. Okay, I will be using pi to denote profit maximization. So what do you mean by profit maximization? What is profit actually? Profit is equal to TR minus TC, where TR is total revenue and TC is total cost. So here, for a firm, TC is assumed to be same as for industry. So TC is given for us. Okay. And from the previous classes, if you remember, how do you calculate TC? TC is a function of Q. So higher the output, higher will be the cost. So we discussed about TC, but we have not discussed about this TR. Now what is TR? TR is equal to P into Q. P is your price, Q is the quantity. So total revenue means the revenue which the firm is earning after selling the product. See, first there is a producer. Producer is producing something. Now producer is giving that production to the firm for selling in the market. Now, when firm sells it, there will be a price which is decided by the industry and there will be a quantity. So, if we multiply price by quantity, then we will get the total revenue. Okay. So, now what we are doing is that if TR is equal to TC, what it means? No profit, or you will say zero profit. Okay. TR is equal to TC. So profit is equal to zero. Why? Because you are saying profit is equal to TR minus TC. The difference between TR and TC is the profit. So if the difference is zero, then the profit is zero. If TR is greater than TC, then only profit is positive. So firm can earn the profit only if the TR is greater than TC. And if TR is less than TC, then obviously firm is making a loss. So maybe you would like to understand it through an equation. You can also talk about, you can always talk about the demand curve, and you can try to understand TR and TC. Suppose you are saying that demand curve is given as P is equal to given as 100 minus 2P, 2Q, sorry. Okay, your demand curve is given like this. So you say TR is equal to P into Q, that is 100 minus 2Q multiplied by Q. So your TR is equal to 100Q minus 2Q square. So that's how your total revenue curve is derived. But we will do this separately when we are talking in terms of equation. But let us try to understand it through a diagram. And you know this diagram, okay, already. I'm not telling you a new thing, but you will understand it. So for profit maximization, that means the difference between TR and TC has to be maximum in order to maximize the profit. Because profit is the difference between TR and TC. So suppose we use the total curves. Here you take X, here you take TR and TC. And TR curve is looking like this. This is TR. Why this is TR? Because you are saying TR is equal to P into Q. Now, do you remember that in the perfectly competitive market, the price is always given. And if the price is zero, the total revenue will also be zero. Because if you put zero in place of P, so zero multiplied by Q, that means TR becomes zero. So TR always starts from origin. But how you have seen the total cost? So say this is TC. And why it starts from a positive intercept? There is a positive intercept on the y-axis. Why? Because this is the fixed cost. That is why the total cost curve does not start from the origin, but it has a positive intercept on the y-axis. Okay. So now see, you have 2 points, A and B. Okay. And then you will have different situations where you can find out the vertical distance between TR and TC curve. Now see this point. So suppose you call it x1, x2, x3. Now I'm leaving you here and try to understand that profit maximization is dependent on TR and TC. So in order to maximize the profit, the difference between TR and TC should be maximum. So we have 4 points in this diagram: A, B, L, and M. And tomorrow we'll try to discuss that where the profit is being maximized. So at which point or at what quantity profit is maximum. So we'll understand this tomorrow. Yes, tell me. Hmm? No, don't call me. Okay. Anything, if any one of you want to ask, you just write on our common Telegram channel. Okay. And I will see the questions, and depending on the question, maybe I will reply you immediately if I feel like that. Or sometimes we can take the questions later on, but you will be writing your questions on the Telegram channel. Okay, not personally, but you write on the group. Okay, try to read something about the equilibrium conditions, and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay, thank you.